You've got lions who rule entire kingdoms, crafty foxes who can outsmart just about anyone. Talking animals have been at the heart of our stories for, well, forever. But have you ever really stopped to ask why? Why do we do this? Let's dive into this really old, really powerful storytelling tradition.
No, seriously, think about it for a second. From the books on your shelf when you were a kid to some of the biggest animated movies ever made, we just cannot get enough of animals who walk, talk, and think just like us. So what's the deal? What is it about this idea that has just captivated people for thousands of years? Well, the answer is way deeper than you might think, and it actually says a lot more about us than it does about them.
The classic home for all these talking creatures is, of course, the fable. And a fable isn't just a random story, It's a very specific kind of tool. Think of it like a short, powerful little story machine that's designed to deliver one thing, a moral lesson. And the animals, they're the secret ingredient that makes the whole thing work.
And here it is, the magic word, anthropomorphism. It's a big word for a really simple idea, giving human qualities to things that aren't human. So by making a fox sneaky or a lion proud, storytellers create this safe distance for us. We can see our own flaws, our own good qualities reflected back at us in these characters, and it makes the lessons so much easier to swallow without us getting all defensive about it.
Now, this technique is anything but new. In fact, you could say it was perfected thousands of years ago in two totally different parts of the world. Two huge, monumental collections of fables popped up that would literally go on to shape storytelling forever, one from the East and one from the West.
So on one side of the world, you've got the Panchatantra from ancient India. You got to think of this one as a complex, layered universe of stories that are constantly folding into each other. Then, on the other side, you've got Aesop's fables from ancient Greece, which is more like a collection of short, sharp stories, each one designed to deliver a single, powerful moral punchline. So, what's the story behind these two completely different ways of telling fables? To really get that, we've got to take a closer look at the master storytellers themselves and the unique worlds they lived in.
Okay, the origin story of the Panchatantra is just incredible. The legend goes that this brilliant scholar named Vishnu Sharma was given a totally impossible job: teach three princes who were, well, they were hopelessly dumb. He knew they couldn't handle normal lessons, so he did something genius. He wove all the wisdom they needed about politics, about diplomacy, about ethics, what's known as niti, into a bunch of super entertaining animal stories.
And this is just a perfect example of his method. The Panchatantra is not just a list of tales. It's more like one of those Russian nesting dolls of stories. You'll be right in the middle of a story about, say, a monkey and a crocodile, and then boom, one of them starts telling another story to make a point. This nested structure meant he could teach some really complex lessons, like the classic brains over brawn idea you see in the story of the tiny rabbit, who tricks a huge lion into jumping down a well. All right, now let's jump way over to ancient Greece. The fables here are all credited to a guy named Aesop, who, by most accounts, was actually a slave. I mean, his background could not be more different from the scholar Vishnu Sharma. And you can see it in his stories. They weren't written to teach princes complicated diplomacy. They're these short, direct, powerful bits of wisdom meant for everybody, and they often had a bit of a satirical or political sting to them. This chart really just boils it all down, doesn't it? On one hand, the Panchatantra from India, basically a huge, comprehensive guide to running a kingdom, all told in this really complex, woven-together style. And on the other hand, Aesop's fables from Greece, short, snappy stories designed to teach practical lessons to everyday people. Totally different origins, leading to totally different goals. But, and this is the really wild part, even though they were created worlds apart, they spoke the exact same language of animals. Both traditions used the same basic archetypes. A fox, always clever. A donkey, usually foolish. A hare is timid, but also arrogant. And the lion is always majestic, but, can definitely be outsmarted. These animals became like a universal code for all our human strengths and weaknesses. So let's actually see this in action with probably the most famous fable of all time. It's from Aesop's collection, but its theme is absolutely universal. We all think we know the story of the tortoise and the hare, right? But there's a lot more going on than you probably remember. All right, quick recap. You know the drill. The super fast hare makes fun of the super slow tortoise. They agree to a race. The hare bolts so far ahead that he gets cocky and decides, hey, I'm going to take a nap.
Meanwhile, the tortoise just keeps on plodding, slow and steady, never stopping. And of course, he crosses the finish line while the hare is still snoozing.
And the moral we all learned in school is this one, right? Slow and steady wins the race. It's this great celebration of just sticking with it, of pure determination. And that's a fantastic lesson. But it might not be the original one.
Yeah, what if the real focus of the story was never meant to be on the winner at all? What if we've been missing the actual point this whole time? Let's try looking at this from a totally different angle.
So here's the twist. Back in classical times, people interpreted the story completely differently. The emphasis wasn't on how great the tortoise was for persevering. No, the whole point was about the hare's fatal flaw. The story was a warning about being lazy and overconfident, a lesson in how even the greatest natural talent can be totally wasted by arrogance.
The real moral, the one that people talked about for centuries, was this: pride goes before a fall. See, the hare didn't lose because the tortoise was persistent. He lost because he was arrogant. He literally beat himself.
And get this, the story's influence is just staggering. The whole logical puzzle of it, a faster runner never quite catching a slower one with a head start, that actually became the basis for Zeno's paradox in philosophy. And today, right now in computer science, there's something called Floyd's cycle-finding algorithm, which is used to find loops in data. And its nickname? The tortoise and hare algorithm. This simple little kid story has a logical depth that is still inspiring people today. So, from teaching princes how to rule to inspiring modern computer algorithms, it's pretty clear these stories are way more than just simple children's tales. So why? Why have they had this incredible staying power for over 2,000 years?
Well, the real power of fables is that they do so much all at once. They take these huge, complicated ideas about ethics or politics and just boil them down into simple, memorable stories. They're like little time capsules preserving the core values of a culture. And they just cut right across languages and borders because they speak to things we all experience: our pride, our foolishness, our cleverness, all while using a bit of humor that helps the lesson really, really stick.
Ultimately, as one scholar of the Panchatantra put it, the fables teach us that solutions lie within ourselves. The stories aren't really about animals, are they? They're mirrors. They're meant to show us who we are, and to remind us that the wisdom we need to get through this complicated world, well, that's something we can find inside ourselves. Which brings me to one last thought for you. In the great big fable of our modern world, with all of its crazy challenges and complexities, what animal archetype do you see in yourself? Are you the steady tortoise, the overconfident hare, the cunning fox, or the mighty lion? And maybe the most important question of all, what's the moral of your story?